Okay, good evening, and hold on just 1 second. Sorry. Okay, so as I said before, I'm sorry. Good evening, Thursday, Likutei Moharan. It is not the first one of this new year, but it sure feels like it. All right, so let's bring up the text and see what is going on here. All right, so Rabbeinu says, and when a person davens before the drush, he needs to daven besachnonim and to ask the Baruch Hu mat neschinam, v'loisle v'tzchus atzmai, or not saying, "Well, give it to me because of my skills," even though there's all the reasons in the world why to do it. Now has awakened the staff of his strength, of all the work that he put in. Now is the time everything is available to him. Still, this matter does not exist to take pride in. It's very interesting that Rabbeinu says that staff, that strength that a tzaddik has from his Torah Masim Tevim, Rabbeinu says this is not to take pride of, but to defeat the evil which is inherent, which is embedded by the people. Because because in the crowd there are good and bad, and you have to subdue the bad which is in the bad ones. It's very interesting that Rabbeinu says this staff is not for pride. And what we're talking about the tzaddik is looking to have diburim in order to teach the people to serve HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And he is saying that when you're using your koach to force your way in, even if the ultimate goal is to get Torah so you can teach the people. If you do it on your own right, on the riding the power of your merit, it's called pride. The feed, the madrega of the tzaddik, it's called pride. He says, you have this staff of strength that you have created with all your masim tevim. And now it's matelo kibiyadi. Now the staff is in your hand. Shvach says, take the matter, take the staff. Takes the strength, take it. But you only need to take it in order to subdue the bad in the people that are bad. A person should spend, the tzaddik, the chacham should stand for HaKadosh Baruch Hu, like somebody who is poor and impoverished, and speak with supplications, and don't hang yourself, don't on any kind of merit. V'zeu this is embedded in the pasuk V'eschanan el Hashem ba'esai lamo. And I have begged to Hashem ba'esai at that time lamor. In other words, shetzorech bevet achanuni b'sha'a, that a person should speak with supplications and beg. This is V'eschanan el Hashem. Ayeschanan el Hashem. Ba'esai, at that particular time, that what did you want to do? I want to learn more. I wanted to say Torah. You should beg. שצורך דבר תחנוני בשעה שרוצה לאמר קודם הדרוש. Before the Jews. That Truth Moshe. This is the mistake that Moshe Rabbeinu did. And he says, when HaKadosh Baruch Hu told him to bring everybody, take the staff, gather the Edo, and speak to the rock in front of their eyes. What's alluded in this is as far as Shikach v'Memshelas Uzay, he should take the authority that he has gained through his strength. That he has from the mitzvahs and his good deeds. V'hakel es ha'edo, because b'shas hakel, when you're calling everybody there, sheyesh ben gam ra'im v'gam, that there are also bad ones in there. You need that staff of strength, your own strength of your own schlutzim, your own merits in order to defeat their wickedness. And then you speak to the rock in front of their eyes. These are two separate commandments. One of them is and you should speak to the rock. And the second one is in front of their eyes. V'dibarta, Chazal Dashan, and Dibur ela benachas. When the Torah uses the Loshon Dibur, it means a soft Dibur. Shenemar Yadber Amim Tachteino. It's that Hashem will subdue the nations. Dibur is when you're speaking from a low standpoint. You're lowering yourself. This is the Yashim of Dibur. Because Baruch Hu said, Dibata, Shishpoch Sicho v'tfilosoi b'sachanu kirash v'dal. Pour your conversation and your tefillah, b'tachanunim, with supplications, with begging. Kedal v'rash, like someone who is poor and impoverished. Elasela, you pour your speech, elasela. What do you mean elasela? Hainu leva elyon, that's the supernal heart. In other words, you have to work up the compassion in the supernal heart. Le'neim daika. This is the second directive. Shiyeh daika shiyeh akal b'shas ha'maiseh. You need to have the people during when this is happening. Kadei shekashes atzmim nishmasom. As we said before, when you're connecting yourself to the neshamas, you'll become a tfilas rabim. And tfilas rabim is accepted. It's never rejected. That's one benefit. Second benefit, as we said, that when there are a lot of people and the tefillah comes out from a lot of people, it adds a lot of kedusha above. This awakens up the supernal heart even more to pour forth the diburim. Moshe Rabbeinu didn't do that. So what did he do? He remembered his goodness and his tzidkes in the time where he's davening. When he davened, he remembered his tzidkes, he remembered his goodness, he remembered his chus. And what that means, he did not use the staff of his good deeds for the people, in other words, to defeat the inherent wickedness in them. He used the mata in the time of his tefillah. Just philosophy. He asked for bi'urei Torah, for the explanation, the illumination, the meaning of the Torah, with the schus of his good deeds. Nikut Aloch, it says interesting. Nikuda, it says, Moshe Rabbeinu obviously knew that you needed to daven beracham v'tachanunim, the way that he behaved all his days, especially in the Chet HaMeraglim, the Moshe Rabbeinu said, Slach na lavon ha'am hazeh g'gol chasdecho, please excuse the crime of this nation, g'gol chasdecha, and in many different places. He says in the time of the hitting of the tzur, he was confused. He was verblonget by the misnagdim, by the cholkim. It's very interesting. There are two shitos, the two biurim, besides what Rabbeinu says here, of what exactly was the problem. What was the mistake of Moshe Rabbeinu, because of which Kodesh Baruch Hu says, Moshe and Aaron had to pass away because of it. Rashi says that Kodesh Baruch Hu told him to speak to the rock, and he hit the rock. The Ramban holds something else entirely. He says that's not a problem at all. The problem is that Moshe Rabbeinu got upset with the people, and he said, Shimuna HaMoirim. He got upset with them. From this rock you want me to get you water. And because he got upset, that's the reason, that's what the mistake was. Rabbeinu is casting a whole different light on this whole Indian. He says that the thing is that has to do with that he needed to use the staff for the people. He says you have to be makil the kachesamata, take the staff of your strength. Vakelos ha'edo, use the staff for the edo. This is something else. Then you have to beg the seller if they ask the Leva Elio if have diborim, and you should do it l'neim. And Nelson says that the misnagdim the cholkim, rattled him as it were so much until he made a mistake. In Koheles. The robber, the con man, will confuse the sage, and he will lose a slev matana, the heart, the heart of gift. When you look at everything that we learned so far, the heart of gift means that he should get from the heart the diburim as a gift, not as a payoff because of the merit of his good deeds. Because of the oishek, because of the wicked ones, he loses it. Chazal darshan this about the mistake of Moshe Rabbeinu. And they caused through this the thinnest mistake of Moshe Rabbeinu, that he did not draw down the Torah beracham v'tachanunim. He will lose the heart of matona. Lev matona. It's a b'china shel Moshe. שבוודאי ידע כל תמיד לספל ברחמים ותחנונים. Moshe Rabbeinu's way was always to beg ברחם ותחנונים. That's the way his heart. The oishek v'agezel, it is through this these people that were bums, this is they confused Moshe Rabbeinu, to the point that he lost the lev matona, which is the heart of Moshe Rabbeinu. His heart was lev matona. Shebikash v'spal tamid berachamat naschinim. He always asked berachamim and matnaschinu. Not because of the oishek, because of their, haggling and whatever it is that they did. He came to a mistake. And he was dochit hashal. He pushed. He forced his way in his oar. He says, "Shelo yishtamesh hamata b'shvil hakol." Just philosophy. Moshe lifted up his hand. Yada is philosophy. His hand, is a euphemism for tefillah. We found it before in the Milchemes Amalek. Moshe Kosov Yadav Emuna. His hand constituted Emuna. And the Targum said, Prisam Bitzloi. They were spread in supplication, in prayer. So he took his yadoi and he lifted it up. Sheherim es tfilosai. He has elevated his tefillah. What does it mean? Shalokisha satzmei makol. He did not connect himself with the audience. And he hit the selah with his staff two times. Now Rabbeinu comes and explains what does it mean, what are the 2 times comes to signify. That there were 2 hits that happened during that time. You hit the rock and water came out, which means shehiko leva elyon, that he hit the supernal heart k'mo shelo as a dover b'koach v'be'onis, like you're taking something with force. Kiba b'koach ma'aseh matovim. He came with the force of his good deeds. Before we started, Rabbeinu says that we're doing it when you're asking with your schus, even if you're doing it in order to teach Torah. It's considered pride. So this is 1 hit. But it says there are 2 hits. He says, Kival koach masatovim. V'zeh hakos hasela pa'amayim. This is what the cell was hit twice. Hako echas 1 hit. The first thing is that he took the biura Torah, the explanations of the Torah, and he did not ask as a free gift. That's 1. And the second hit, anybody who pushes the hour, who insists that Hashem is going to give him what he's asking for right here, right now. The hour pushes him back. Moshe Rabbeinu was mistala kodem his time. While and this for the for the passing a Shechina she'alev anal mi'alev v'boicha alav. And the Shechina, which is that supernal heart, is weeping and crying and mourns him. V'zeu pa'amayim, twice. Ki mesu Moshe ve'Aaron, both Moshe and Aaron, passed because of this head. Moshe kosuv hema mea meriva. These are the waters of argument. And now Rabbeinu says this Kaviyachol is a teaching for the tzaddik, for Moshe Rabbeinu. What's it got to do with us? Now Rabbeinu says what it has to do with us. A person should not push himself to anything. Just ask Kadosh Baruch Hu and beg for whatever that you want. If HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to give it to you, He'll give it to you. If you love, and if not, not. Here we're using the plural sense. He doesn't say lo emanto, you, emantem. Why are you using the plural? How not tefillah? Sheherin tefilosei, which is emuna mit tefillas hakol. It no longer is emanta, yeah, but it's not emantem. You lost the crowd. Shalakoshes atzmei makol vatfilo. Imakol, but tefillah yemuna. Tefillah is emuna. Moshe Kosev Yadav Emunah, as he says, Lagdisheni l'neim Bnei Yisrael. You lost this eating of Emunah. You lost the prayer that has to do with that you lost the emunah, the plural emunah, the emunah that comes out of the tefillas rabbim. Shalakoshes atzmei makol. He did not connect himself with the kol. And emantim, this is the tefillah. It wasn't tefillas tzibur, it was tefillas yochid. Lagdisheni l'nei Bnei Yisrael. To sanctify me before the eyes of Bnei Yisrael. Lagdisheni daika. Because al that tefillah shel rabbim, when the tefillah is a tefillah of many people, niskadesh Hashem is berachenu. That sanctifies the name of Hashem. Lachen, that's why you will not bring these people to the land. There, Ramazal Istakusa. Now, Hashem Baruch already told him that he'll have to pass away. And not only this, he says, because Ki HaKedusha Gam Ken Isvosaf Lemal V'Shaptiyas HaTzadik. When the tzaddik leaves this world, he adds Kedusha above. Tnu Oz LeElokim. כידוע, נמצא שמה שנחסה על ידם נשלם על ידם. Whatever it is that Moshe Rabbeinu, with this mistake that he did, has subtracted the value of the entire Am Yisrael, together with Moshe Rabbeinu, at Tfilas Rabbim, would add an amazing amount of Kedusha above. Moshe Rabbeinu didn't do it. So you could say that this is somewhat hard to understand, in a sense, because the Gemara says about Moshe Rabbeinu that Moshe denofish schuse, that he has an immense amount of merits. Karabim Damya. He is considered as Rabbim. And in many places we find Am Yisrael comes to Moshe Rabbeinu and says, daven for us. And it's not connect himself to everybody, but he goes and he davens. Over here we find that the fact that he did not connect himself to the people constituted an immense pagam, that the kedusha that he was supposed to bring above, to bring to the Shemaim, was so deficient that both Moshe and Aaron both had to pass away in order to fill in for the kedusha that they failed, that Moshe Rabbeinu failed to bring up by not connecting himself to the people. It has to be that it teaches us, even though Rabbeinu is like glancing over it. He says that the Be'er got away with the passing of Miriam. The Anona covered were there with the schus of Aaron. The man was there b'schus of Moshe Rabbeinu. So when Miriam passed away, the Be'er passed away. When Aaron passed away, the Anonim went away. This is when the Knani suddenly saw them and went to war with them. Until then, they were enshrouded with clouds. Nobody saw them. The Amalek could only, pick on those that fell behind, that the cloud spit out. This is who. But now, Aaron HaKohen was Mistalik, and the clouds were. And they came back in the schus of Moshe. Both the clouds and the Be'er, they all came back because of schus of Moshe. So the question begs to be asked is, then why did we need to have Miriam and Aaron there to begin with? If everything could come back with the schus of Moshe. So it looks like they haven't added anything to the equation. Moshe Rabbeinu all on his own could bring it all back. But it is understood from what's going on here that Miriam, as Rabbeinu says, this is the neshama that denotes, that's the source of Biur Torah. It's the neshama that has a diburim which are as hot as burning coal. And all the mefarshim of the Torah, all the teachers, they all get from that heart. And when you look at it from far, you're asking, what do you mean that this neshama, who is the source of Biur Torah, passed away? Moshe Rabbeinu was still there, right? Moshe Rabbeinu is the source of all Biur Torah. So what's going on? What's missing here? The answer is that the tzaddik has an avodah together with the tzaddik ador and with each and every one of Am Yisrael. It's not a one-way street that we need the tzaddik and the tzaddik doesn't need us. That's not the case. And the same thing of the tzaddik ador. En achinami that tzaddik ador are all subservient to the tzaddik ador. But each one of them represents an aspect in the avoid of the tzaddik ador. It has to be that way because that's what mashma from the pshat of Likutei Moharan. Miriam with her schus represented the existence. In other words, the portal was open, as it were. The portal of Bi'ur HaTorah was open. As long as Miriam was alive, the portal was open. Moshe Rabbeinu can just converse to Kadosh Baruch Hu, no problem. And the first time when he brings water, Kadosh Baruch Hu says, go ahead and hit the rock. He goes and hit the rock. We don't see anywhere he says, speak to the rock or anything. There's no need for all of that. Because Miriam is there. And because Miriam is there, we have to understand what is this, what do we know about Miriam? What is her claim to fame? The first one, obviously, she is the one that when Paro says, Kol ben hayalod hayot tashlichu, all male children, whatever it is, not only Jewish, Egyptian also, they throw him to the Nile. So Amram was Moshe's father, divorced his wife. We're going to have children, just throw into the water. So Miriam told Amram, "Your gezerah." Amram was the Manik of Am Yisrael, one of the most important people of Am Yisrael. And being the parent of Moshe Rabbeinu, you can understand we're talking about somebody of tremendous madregas nevuah. Ad kadei kach that in the first vision of the burning bush, because Baruch Hu speaks to Moshe Rabbeinu. So the Zohar says that he spoke in order not to spook him. The burning bush, so HaKadosh Baruch Hu spoke to him out of the burning bush with the voice of his father, of Amram. So he will recognize the voice. It says, even though really the madrega of this galus of Moshe Rabbeinu was far, far, far beyond the madrega of his father. Nevertheless, it was misgala with his father's voice, kivyochel from his father's madrega. But immense madrega. So Miriam says to her father, your decree is harsher than Paro's. Paro decreed only on the male. You decreed on male and female. So our father says, you're right. And he took his wife back. The second claim to fame of Miriam is when, after 3 months, his mother puts him in the basin, in the reed basin, and she puts him on the river, on the water. And his sister is standing afar to see what will happen with him, to take care of him. Bas Parai comes. Bas Parai says the Zohar is a remez to immense midas adin. She and her girls, these are all the shluchei adinim, says the Zohar. And she came and she opens up, the basin or the bassinet, whatever it is you want to call it. And she saw him, she saw him that he's crying. Zohar says all the gates, the famous saying that all the gates were locked. When the tzaddikim asked, sometimes their prayer is received, sometimes it's not. Just 1 second, hold on. Hold on. Just 1 second, hold on. I got a problem here. Houston, we got a problem. So she sees the Zohar says that certain times when HaKadosh Baruch Hu listens to the tzadik's tefillah, and certain times when it's not, when the tefillah is not answered. But Shara Dmois were never locked. The gates of tears, with tears you can open and unlock. So when Moshe Rabbeinu cried, it sweetened ameliorated all the dinim, all the verdicts. And Bas Paroi, which signifies the Midas Adin, flipped over and she was filled with Rachamim. You see here the same aspect of Moshe Rabbeinu. He's crying. This is Tachanunim. His sister is there, afar, but she's present. And Bas Paroi, which is the epitome of Din, flips over and becomes Rachamim. The entire issue of Am Yisrael rests upon that. What happens? His sister comes, because they tried to have an Egyptian woman, to feed him, and he wouldn't suck. He wouldn't feed. So she said, "Shall I call you?" So she said, "This is one of the Jewish children." He says, "Shall I call you, a wet nurse?" And she says, "Yeah." So she calls his mother. She called her mother. And Bas Paroi gives her the baby. Says, "Go ahead and nurse him for me, and I will pay you for it." This is the second episode that we see Miriam. The third episode that we see Miriam is actually the source for one of the most common and, I would say, least interesting, alarming, whatever, averas that people do. Lashon Hara. Miriam is speaking to Aaron about Moshe, about the fact that Moshe Rabbeinu has divorced his wife. He left her. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu becomes upset with her that she spoke. I mean, she spoke she didn't mean, she didn't mean any derogatory thing about her brother. She was saying in private between her and Aaron HaKohen. She was just wondering, why did he have to do this? I mean, we're also prophets because Baruch Hu speak with us, but we can still remain married. What's the deal with that? Lo and behold, this is the quintessential example of Lashon Hara. Because Baruch Hu says, let her wait outside. She's struck with tsaras, which is a kind of leprosy that comes for spiritual reasons. And she's supposed to be out of the machnes. A tumah has to go outside. Talk about quarantine. Bidud, outside of all camps for 7 days. Chazal said, that all the people waited for her. The entire camp, the entire Am Yisrael has waited for Miriam for 7 days because Miriam is outside of the camp. So nobody moves, nobody travels until she's over that and she's coming back in. So Chazal said, the Medrash says, B'shvil shah kala, for 1 little hour, that she waited for her brother to see what will happen with him when his mother, puts him in the bassinet upon the Nile. And so she waited to see what's going to be with him. Now the entire Am Yisrael is waiting a week for her. Rashi says that she didn't wait for an hour. She waited for 15 or 20 minutes. And you're going like, why does Rashi have to say that? I mean, isn't it being like super picky? What's the difference? 15 minutes, 20 minutes, an hour? But if Rashi says it, everything Rashi wrote is Ruach HaKodesh. Why does Rashi say that? So they say that Chazal said that Midah Tova, that the Midah Tova is greater than Midah Ra. They said Bnei Shileshim, it says, because Baruch Hu says that I wait to those who hate me. I take revenge upon the 3rd or 4th generation. And for those, the chesed to those who keep the mitzvahs la'alofim, to thousands. So Chazal says the Midah Tova is greater than Midah Ra. So the question is, how much is Midah Tova greater than Midah Ra? So Chazal says, according to Rashi, it depends. It says that it depends. When you take alofim, which is 2,000, and you divide it either by the shileshim or to rebbeim, either to a 3rd generation or 4th generation. If it's a 3rd generation, that the Midah Tova of 2,000 is 500 times more. If it's rebbeim, this is 300 times more. So when you take a week and you divide it by 500, was the Midah Tova Am Yisrael waited for Miriam. You divide it by 500, it becomes 15 minutes. That's how much time that Miriam waited for Moshe. Divided by 300, it's 20 minutes. So Rashi is super precise. not just being picky. Because Mida Tova is Meruba, Mida Ra. Nevertheless, we see here that Miriam has an immense involvement with the union of Dibur, the union of speech. She's the one that speaks to her father. She's the one who speaks to Basparai. And she's the one that speaks to Aaron. And when she speaks to Aaron, there's a little bit of it is parallel to what Moshe Rabbeinu is going through. At the very end, this in of Dibur comes from the presence of Miriam. As long as Miriam is around, as long as Eshes Chayil is around, the Dibur is around. Moshe Rabbeinu can hit the rock. Moshe Rabbeinu can tell the Torah, can dash in Torah. He doesn't even need to connect himself to all the people. He's automatically connected to all of them. Because that aspect of the neshama, in Moshe Rabbeinu, that aspect of the neshama that is the portal to all Birei Torah is open because Miriam is alive. Miriam is around. Yeah, the Be'er comes back. But you see, the Be'er comes back at a great, great cost. Moshe Rabbeinu has to pass away. Aaron has to pass away. Lemaisa, the great inyan that we need to understand from that, we need to learn from that, is how to daven. We push our way in if we're lucky enough to understand that we need to pray, which is rare enough. When you already understand that, we spoke about it quite a few times, but we have to mention it again. How can you cry to Hashem if all you can do is just begging and supplications? How do the two coincide? How do it work together? The answer is, we said, the screaming and the crying that you cry to Hashem is not because you insist. You insist conditionally. You cry because it hurts. You cry because you want to break through the barrier. Rabbeinu says that it is through the tza'aka in Torah and Tefillah, it's crying in Torah and Tefillah, that the person breaks through and brings down the makifim. Sometimes when you are making this beidus and your heart feels like a rock, excuse the pun, and you cannot say anything, you need to cry out. Whether you're outside in the field and you're screaming, or you're in your own room and you're crying outside in your own head. Nobody else can hear you. It doesn't matter. Because the idea is to break through the barriers. You're not being petulant. You're not pushing your way through. This you're allowed to do. You never say, you know something, if you're not giving me one, I'm not davening anymore. Chas v'chalila. So what am I going to do if HaKadosh Baruch Hu doesn't give it to me? Okay, I'm going to ask again. And I'm going to ask again. And I'm going to ask again. And I'm going to keep on asking. If Hashem gives, He gives. While you're at it, it is very important that a person realizes that there's a madrega that you want to achieve. And that's the madrega of trust and bitochen HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Not only that whatever He does is good, which is an immense madrega. You know, the minute that things don't go the way I want, forget about it. But to reach an even higher madrega, that to know that Kadosh Baruch Hu will give you, B'ezrat Hashem, everything that you need and everything that you want. What? Everything that I want? I'm going to get everything that I want? Yeah. If you really want it, Kadosh Baruch Hu will give it to you. So what do I need to do? Should I scream? Should I cry? Just tachanunim. And ask HaKadosh Baruch Hu for whatever it is that you want. And be misguided on it. If you want to be wealthy, ask HaKadosh Baruch Hu should be wealthy. You don't need to run around the world. It can come and knock on your door. There's no need for that. Unless, of course, you have a need to run. You have a need to run, so run. That's something else. But if you need to be wealthy, if you want to be wealthy, ask Kadosh Baruch Hu to be wealthy. You can sit at home and ask Kadosh Baruch Hu, do you want to be wealthy? You'll be wealthy. I don't quite understand why anybody would want to be wealthy, but okay. It may seem to you like I'm out of my mind. What do you mean? What do you mean? Of course you want to be wealthy. Well, of course I want to be wealthy. What am I going to do? There's wealth and there's wealth. I mean, the kind of wealth that, you know, that kosher people usually have. This is everybody knocks on your door. Everybody makes you a lochen cup. You know, everybody just like, you know, wants something from you and wants something from you. Who has the cup for that? Some people do. Some people are built emotionally to be a gvir, to be, you know, a wealthy person. V'akasha, go ahead. Be a wealthy person, and if you ask for it, if you want it, you'll get it. To have that bitochen, you need to ask HaKadosh Baruch Hu to have that bitochen. Then, you know, really search inside yourself what it is that you want. We all say that we want a lot of money because really what we want is not we want a lot of money. We simply don't want the discomfort and the pressure that comes out of having to afford things and go jumping through the hoops in order to do whatever it is we need to do and balance act and whatever it is. And the people who want money have money. The people who are really smart know that in order to want money, the only thing you need to do is to want. And ask HaKadosh Baruch Hu for it. And just ask and trust Him and believe in Him, and He'll give it to you. Whatever it is that you want. I know that what I'm saying now sounds like way out of left field. Where did you take that, man? I mean, just like you. I mean, if what you're saying is true, that everybody would be healthy. No, not so. People don't have that trust. People don't have that emunah. And so they go ahead. They're forcing their way through. You go, okay, you are forcing your way through, so you pay the consequences. And when the wealth comes, it comes with broken teeth and spitting blood. It may not seem that way, but it is. But these are the madrigas of dibur that we need to get. The dibur of emunah that we need to have. The midah of bitochen that we need to have. With this, B'ezrat Hashem, we will call it an evening. And B'ezrat Hashem, Motzei Shabbos, we will meet again. And we will learn Sichas Haran, Im Yetz Hashem.